important for you to go through and correct all your answers. They were not graded for accuracy. Because of time, I wanted to get them back to you and get you explanations to the answers as quickly as possible. So please open up each of these activities and follow along and correct your answers. So this was just looking at the notes or an introduction to the first section. So this says that a chromosome contains hundreds, sometimes thousands of genes, which are segments of DNA that code for proteins. And we call all the chromosomes in our body the genome. Because chromosomes or DNA is so long, it has to do something special in order to fit inside the cell. So the DNA double helix is wrapped around proteins called histones. And they form these little structures called nucleosomes. Nucleosomes and the linked DNA are then coiled into a 30 nanometer fiber. Nanometers just means tiny, tiny, tiny. During cell division, it's going to condense even further by packing proteins. And then finally, cancer is what happens when the cell sequence that you're going to learn about, or you learned about in this chapter, does not go checked, and it keeps making extra cells without control. And it's usually due to a change in the sequence or a mutation. In this next activity, you were asked to do two things. There's definitions, and for the same words, we have pictures. So I'm actually going to start with the pictures because I think that's easier. And if you didn't notice at the top of your activity, there's actually a video there that will help you go over exactly what I'm going over now. Okay, just instead of me going over just the answers, this is where you could find these answers most easily before you completed this. So this over here, which I labeled for you, is a karyotype. This is a picture of an individual, a human's chromosomes. Humans have 23 pairs. We get one of each pair from our mom, one from our dad. And these pairs, because you can find similar similar genes on each chromosome, notice they're the same shape and they have the same banding pattern. They're called homologous chromosomes. There's two different types of chromosomes on these. Chromosome pairs 1 through 22 are what we call autosomes. And the last pair that determines the gender are the sex chromosomes. If they are male, it's going to be XY. If they're both the same, if they're XX, then it's female. All the cells in our body, except for the reproductive cells, are called somatic cells or body cells, and they all have two sets of chromosomes in them. And so we say that they are diploid. The only exception to that are the gametes or the reproductive cells, and they only have one set of chromosomes. And one set of chromosomes, we call that word haploid. Now, if an individual is formed from the DNA of two different parents, then we call this sexual reproduction. And so this right here, this is the egg, this is the sperm. These are called gametes. And gametes form the new individual, and the first new individual is the zygote. Sometimes during cell division, there are problems. We'll come back to that in a second because that's what these last two sections are here. And we'll actually look at the chromosomes. So this right here is DNA, and the exact copy of DNA over here to the side. If you look, where they attach in the middle is called the centromere. This whole thing is called chromosomes. And because this is an exact copy of this, we call these sister chromatids. The little banding pattern that you see on there, the banding pattern you see on there are genes. Here are a picture in the example of mutations, and the specific mutation that's a result of something called non-disjunction. So I'll let you check your answers, hit play, and you can check your answers to your vocabulary. If you'll pause so you can get the answers to this, and then I'll give you the second slide that I forgot from the previous activity.